that killeth with the sword.
He that what?
Killeth with the sword.
Why is all these wars going on?
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
Read it one more time.
He that killeth with the sword.
Why are all these nations turning their back on America?
He that killeth with the sword must be killed.
Wait a minute.
With the sword.
Why are these bombs about to drop?
Must be killed with the sword.
Today is a breakdown on Genesis. We have a lot of preachers and pastors and churches that claim to know the breakdowns of the Bible, but they do not understand the breakdowns of this Bible. So we're going to go into the breakdowns of this book. We're going to start from the very first book in the Bible, the book of Genesis. So we're going to break it down for you. Genesis, the first chapter and the first verse. And I have the brother Rob Karab, you read the first verse.
In the beginning.
And we're going to read it verbatim so we can break it down.
In the beginning, the power created.
So read it verbatim.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Stop right there. Now this first verse, not too many people know how to break this down. The first verse states this: in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. This is the beginning of the creation of the so-called, well, as we know it, universe. The earth, the moon, the stars, the planets, and so forth. But now, what people go off on is this: in the beginning, God. The word God is not talking about the supreme heavenly Father. Because when you go into the Hebrew, and we're going to have a man read it in the Hebrew. Matter of fact, I will read it in the Hebrew. This is Genesis, the first chapter and the first verse. And we're going, by the way, this is known as the Torah. The word Torah means law. And the law is contained in this book. And the Tanakh, the books of the prophets, and the book of the law. The first 5 books of Moses is known as the Torah. This is in the Hebrew. Now, what I would like to do is go to Genesis, the first chapter and the first verse. And I would like the cameraman to try to get a close-up of the first page of this book, right here. This is Genesis. In Hebrew it's called Bara'ah. Let's try to get as close as we can. Get an extreme close-up so they can see the letters. And by the way, this is known as the Assyrian form of Hebrew. You have these so-called phony white Jews that claim to be Jews. They read according to the so-called Assyrian Hebrew. The Assyrian Hebrew came about during the time of Ezra, during the time of the Babylonian Empire, coming out of the Babylonian Empire, when the Persians and the Medes took over the Babylonians. And we had rewrote the scrolls in the Assyrian form, which is the Hebrew, the Assyrian form of Hebrew. Assyrian writing, rather. The original scrolls is written in the ancient Hebrew. Now, I would like to read from this first chapter and the first verse. And this is what it says. It says, Bara'ash Yah. The word Bara'ash Yah means in the beginning, in the headings. Bara'ah, that word is created or creation. Alahayim. Now, read the first verse in the first chapter of Genesis in the Bible again. Verbatim.
In the beginning, God created.
Now, see, God created. Over here it says, the third word is Alahayim. Alahayim. The word Allah is a Hebrew word which simply means power. The angels are known as the powers. They're the powers of the universe. The Most High is a power of the universe. Ha means the. Yum is plural. Let me show you this one. I have this black boy right here. Heavy, big black boy. When you read it in the Hebrew, the word there that we read in the Bible, in the Torah, was Allah, which means power, Ha, the, and Yum represent plural. And the way we read it in the Hebrew was going from what? From right to left. Okay? So that's the word there. So you look up the word God, and you see the word God in the Bible. The word God in the Bible is not the name of the Most High or the Supreme Being or the Heavenly Father. This wasn't talking about the Most High. It was talking about the angels and Christ. To prove that, I would like the brother at the end to give me the book of John, the first chapter and the first verse. And it's going to state the same thing. So the word there is Elohim. The word Elohim simply means powers, plural. Angels, plural. Read that, brother.
John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word.
What beginning? That's going back to the very beginning of the book of Genesis. In the beginning. The beginning of what? The universe. In the beginning was the Word. Who is the Word? Christ is the Word. When you read down to around the 14th verse or thereabouts, it tells you that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. So who's the Word? The Word is Christ, who you know as Christ. In the beginning was the Word, so Christ was back there from the very beginning. He was one of the chief angels and also the Son of the Most High. Go ahead.
And the Word was with God.
And the Word was with God. The word there in the Hebrew, when you read it in the Hebrew in 1 John, the first chapter, the word there says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, the powers, the angelic forces. Go ahead.
And the Word was God.
And the Word, now right there in the Hebrew, the word is, and the Word was a power. And the word, wa, the ba, and the word, Allah, power. And the Word was a power, a angelic force, a power. Read on.
The same was in the beginning with God.
The same was in the beginning with the powers. So it was Christ and it was the other angels, and they were the ones that received the blueprint from the Most High, so to speak, to bring together and create the universe. Now, let's go from there. Let's go back to Genesis. That's why it's important for you to understand and know the Hebrew, the original writings of this book. Certain Greek words you must know, because certain translations of the book in the New Testament was written in Hebrew, and certain books are written in Greek and Hebrew. So you must know the Hebrew. You must know certain words in the Greek. And you must know meaning of words. Now, let's go to the book of Genesis, the first chapter, and let's read the 26th verse, to show you that this was not God, the Supreme Heavenly Father himself, that it was more than one. It was plural. Because this statement is made in the book of Genesis, the first chapter, the 26th verse. Read it, the same brother.
And God said, let us make man in
Now,
our...
if you're one God by yourself in the beginning, why would you make the statement to yourself, let us make man? That shows you right in that verse that there was more than one, plural. He was talking to someone else. So who was talking to who? There was the angels and Christ talking among themselves. Read the 26th verse again.
And God said, let us make man in our own image.
Right, let us make man in what? In our image. Read on.
After our likeness.
After our likeness. You notice it says, let us, plural, make man in our, plural. image, after our, plural, likeness. That was Christ and the different angels that was set to create the heavens and the earth. Now, let's go back and read the 26th verse again. And let's put the word Elohim there, or powers. Elohim is powers. Because right there in Genesis, the 26th verse, it tells you in the Hebrew, and the powers said, and the Elohim said, let us, plural. Read it and put the word powers in there.
And the powers said, let us make man.
These are the angels. And the powers said, the angels said, let us make man. Go ahead.
In our image.
In our image. What is the angel's image? Order. How do you set up order? Through laws. So the angels in heavens were in order. So they said, look, let's set up man, let's set up Adam, and man on earth, let's give them order. Because what did the animals receive? The animals had instinct. They did things according to instinct. Man didn't have instinct. Man was given order, laws, bylaws to go by. Read on.
After our likeness.
After our likeness. Go ahead.
And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea.
And let them what? Let them have dominion over fish of the sea. Meaning we're supposed to have dominion over the animals. The Most High made us, create us to be over the animals. Read on.
And over the fowl of the air.
And over the fowl of the air. We were supposed to have control of the animals of the earth. Also, dominion means what type of animals to eat and what type of animals not to eat. And back then in the ancient world, during the time of Adam and during the time of Noah, the animals had fear and dread on man. We saw man. Now animals don't have the fear and dread of man. That's why animals attack men now. But back there, during the time of Noah and during the time of Adam, animals, even lions, had fear on when it came to when they saw a man. Because it tells you in the kingdom of heaven, in the book of Isaiah, the 11th chapter, that our kids shall play with the adders and with the lions, put their hand in the lion's mouth. Because why? Because that's going to come back to the same blessing, that the fear and the dread is going to be on the animals to fear us, to fear man. To prove that, let's go to the book of Genesis, the 9th chapter. Thank you, brother. And let's start from bear me for 1 minute. Let's start from the first verse, because it's in the second verse. This is in the book of Genesis, the 9th chapter, starting from the first verse. This was during the period of Noah. Because how was Noah able to get all them animals in the ark and control the animals? It's going to tell you, after Noah and them landed, the Most High told him, I will put the fear and the dread upon these animals when they see man, when they see you. But now we're cursed. The Most High took that fear and that dread off these animals. Because at one time in the ancient world, a bee wouldn't sting you. Now you get stung by a bee. Snake wouldn't bite you. Now you get bit by a snake. Dog or pit bull wouldn't attack you. Now you get attacked by pit bulls. Let's read that, brother.
And the powers blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply.
And this is where all people of the planet Earth came from. All people of the planet Earth today, whether you're Chinese, Japanese, East Indian, Africans, white, black, you came from out of one of these three sons of Noah. Read on.
And replenish the earth.
And replenish the earth, because there was a flood and the people of the earth were destroyed, except for 8 souls, 8 people. Noah, his 3 sons, and their wives. 8 souls and their animals. Read on.
And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast.
And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast. It didn't say some beast, it said every beast. So back there, the animals feared men. Read on.
of the air,
Right, go ahead.
and the earth, and upon every fowl of the air,
Go ahead.
upon all that moveth upon the earth.
Now check that out. Back in the ancient world, during the time of Noah, it said all the animals feared and dreaded man. All the animals, the fowls of the air, the fishes in the sea, and the beasts that walk on the earth. Read on.
And upon all the fishes of the sea.
So a shark wouldn't attack you. Read on.
Into your hand are they delivered.
And to your hand they are delivered. See? So the Most High done took that spirit, the Most High took that spirit from us. Therefore these animals attack us now. See? So we were on the level of angels. That's why it said, that's why the angels said, let us make man after our image, after our own likeness. See? Now let's go back to Genesis, the first chapter and the first verse again. And Rob Karab, you can read that.
In the beginning.
The beginning of what? The beginning of the creation of the universe. The heavens, the stars, the planets, the earth, the sun, the moon. Read on.
God created the heaven and the earth.
Now the word God there is Alahayim, which means angels, powers. Go ahead.
And the earth was without form and void.
Was the earth there? Yes, the earth was there. But the earth was in the element stage. All kind of elements are in the air now. But the angels took these elements and formed the earth, formed the planets. That's what it means by the earth was without form and void. Meaning it was not brought together. The elements was not brought together. Because that's proven today in the scientific world. That if you take so many elements, different elements, and combine them, you can come up with water. H2O, for example. Those are two elements that you bring together, a certain amount of one element, hydrogen, and a certain amount of another element, and you then create water. But there's not hydrogen in the air, there's not oxygen in the air, but when you bring these elements together, therefore you have made water. And when you freeze that water, you have made ice. And when you evaporate that water, you have made a gas, where it's going back into its natural form of hydrogen and oxygen. Read on, brother.
And darkness was upon the face of the deep.
What was speaking about when it said the deep? The deep was space. There was not one star. There was no sun. It was just blackness, darkness, deep darkness. Go ahead.
And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters.
Now you can use the word powers, because we done broke that down. And the spirit of the powers of the angels moved upon the what? The face of the waters. What does it mean by waters? The Hebrew word Shemayim is what? It means pertaining to the waters. The waters is talking about the atmosphere, the space. What's in the air? The waters, the moisture. Or you would be dehydrated. Read on.
And the powers said, let there be light. And there was light.
So what happened? The angels or the powers initiated a certain amount of elements to illuminate. Now, when the so-called white man and his science, when they look under a microscope and they look at the elements of these germs and these different elements, there's an aura around these elements. And some elements have a brighter aura than others. And that's what they did. They took the elements or the atoms and illuminated the aura around these elements. So that's what they did. They took a certain amount of elements and they illuminated it. Read on.
And the powers saw the light, that it was good.
And the powers saw the light, that it was good. Now, I'm going to illustrate that on the board so you can get the understanding. Let me illustrate that on the board here. As I've said, you're not going to learn this going to Reverend Porkchop, because Reverend Porkchop doesn't know his stuff. To give you an illustration right here, they took this is deep space. They took a certain amount of elements and illuminated these elements. Because where do you get the light from in the daytime? A lot of you say, and scientists years ago said, oh, you get it from the sun. That's a damn lie. You don't get it from the sun. And they proved that when they send up the man Apollo space flights up into space. And when you look down on the earth, you see the aura of the earth. One side of the earth is a dimmer light, and the other side of the earth is a brighter light. Therefore, you get day and night. Because the sun wasn't even created. So this light right here was like a big cloud of light, illuminated elements in the air, in space. Read on.
And the powers divided the light from the darkness.
And the powers divided the light from the darkness. In other words, this is the darkness, right? This is the light. Now, there was one part where it was dimmer, a dimmer form of light and a brighter form of light. And the earth was going to be created right in the middle of that. That's why on one side of the world, it's dark. On this side of the world, it's daytime. When it's nighttime on this side of the world, it's nighttime on this side of the world, it's darkness on the other side of the world. Yes, you got a question, brother?
Oh yeah, so you're saying that the elements lit up? So you're saying that the elements had lit up?
Mm-hmm.
And
Let me say this, the elements, the angels initiated the elements to illuminate. Just like if you look in in high school science, you look in a telescope, you can see the illumination of the light around these elements. So they illuminated these elements that was in space. You understand?
okay.
Okay. Read on.
And the powers called the light day, and the darkness he called night.
Right, the lesser part of the elements. The angels and the powers call this part day, the other part he called night. Go ahead.
And the evening and the morning were the first day.
So, in one day, they created what? The light. Now, outside of this was deep dark space, blackness. In this circle of light, there was a dimmer form of light and a brighter form of light. Just like your lamps at home. You can turn the lamp on and make it super bright and hit the switch again, and you have a dimmer form of light. Now, it said in the evening and the morning was the what? The first day. Now, what kind of day was this? Was this a 24-hour day? Was it a 2-minute day? Was it a year? But it's one day? What is a day to the Lord? Let's go to the book of 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and the 8th verse, and we can prove this. Matter of fact, let's start from the first verse. To show you that Peter was alluding and speaking in behalf of the book of Genesis, beginning. Genesis, the second Peter's, the 3rd chapter, and let's start from the first verse.
This second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you, in both which I stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance,
Go ahead.
that ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets,
Go ahead.
and of the commandment of us, the apostles of the Lord and Savior, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers.
Now, where are these scoffers? A lot of people say they don't believe in the Bible. A lot of people say they don't believe in God. They don't believe in the Most High. You have a lot of religions that are scoffers, that say, well, we have the right religion, or we have the right way. We're following the Most High. The only way you can follow the Most High, number one, you have to be an Israelite, first of all. You have to be of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And you have to acknowledge this whole Bible. You have to go by this whole Bible. The whole Bible says this: the salvation is coming to the nation of Israel. So all these churches, they're not teaching the truth. That's why they can't break down Genesis. That's why you can't break down Revelations. None of these books. That's why you're confused. Read on.
Walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation.
Right, that's what they're saying. Oh, everything is what you guys talking about, the end of the world. I don't see no end of the world. Scoffers. Go ahead.
For this they willingly are ignorant of that by the word of the power.
Right, that's why these people, the majority of the people in the world, they're willingly ignorant, man. Willingly ignorant. They want to be ignorant to this truth. That's why a lot of people, the majority of people on this earth is going to die. And America is going to be destroyed. And part of this world, as we know it, is going to be destroyed. A new kingdom is going to be set up. Because you have ignored this Bible. And this Bible is going to condemn you. This is the word of the Most High. Read on.
The heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby...
Now, what is he saying? He's reiterating what was said and read in the book of Genesis, the first chapter. Read on.
Whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire.
Right. He was referring to the creation of the world and how the people did not want to listen to Noah, and the Most High destroyed the people of that world, of the ancient world, by what? That great flood. So it said this same world that we're living on now is reserved for fire. This world is going to go out by fire. And everybody that's left on this world that have not come back to the words and statutes of the Most High is going to be destroyed. So it said this same world that we're living on now is reserved for fire. This world is going to go out by fire. And everybody that's left on this world that have not come back to the words and statutes of the Most High is going to be destroyed. Read on.
Against the day of judgment.
Against the day of judgment. The first day of judgment on a worldwide scale was during the time of Noah, when the flood came. The second judgment, worldwide judgment, is right around the corner. It's going to come through fire this time. Go ahead.
And perdition of ungodly men.
Perdition means destruction. Read on, of ungodly men. If you're ungodly, you're going to die. Read on.
But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years.
One day with the Lord is 1,000 years. Read on.
And 1,000 years as one day.
And 1,000 years as one day. Now, let's go back to Genesis. The same brother that was reading Genesis in the beginning, Rob Karab, read that verse that you just read.
And the evening and the morning were the first day.
So how long did this take? A period of 1,000 years. Read on.
And the power said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters.
Now the word waters in the Hebrew is the word shemayim, which means heavens, which means space. This is what he was talking about. This is the waters right here. Space. They said let it be a firmament. The firmament, the word we use today is the ozone layer to divide the waters from those waters. That's the firmament, the ozone layer. And what are you so-called Europeans doing? You're destroying the ozone layer. Read on.
And the powers made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament.
Right. These are the waters which are outside the firmament and the waters which are inside of the firmament. This is our heaven. This is called the first heaven. This is the first heaven. Heaven number 1. This is the second heaven. And they speak about a third heaven. Where's the third heaven? That's the spiritual world, which is the 4th dimension. Read on.
And it was so. And the powers called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day.
Second 1,000 years. The powers, the angels call the firmament heaven, the first heaven. Your heaven. Your atmosphere. Read on.
And the powers said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place.
So when this firmament was formed, the waters became the gases of the heavens. Hydrogen and oxygen came together. It turned into ice, like a ball of ice, right here in the middle. Read on.
And let the dry land appear.
And let the dry land appear. So the waters was there, and out of the waters came what? The forming of the dry land. This is where we get the earth today. Now let's get a shot of the so-called world map. Now at one point, there was one piece of land, one gigantic piece of land in the midst of this globe, or the earth as we know it. Now, if you notice, now it's broken up into pieces. What happened? There was a great flood. All nations have the story of the great cataclysmic event that took place during the time of Noah's time. And things was broken up. Prior to that, the flood, the earth was all together in one piece of land. Read on, brother.
And the powers called the dry land earth. And the gathering together of the waters called he seas.
Read that again.
And the powers called the dry land earth.
And the powers called the dry land earth. Let's cut that in half. That represents the earth, and that represents the sea. To give you an understanding. So the Most High said he called what? The dry land earth, and he called the other part seas, waters. Go ahead.
And the powers saw that it was good.
And the angels, the angelic forces, saw that that was good. That was a good thing. Go ahead.
And the powers said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed.
And note we have that on the earth today. Grass, trees, vegetation. Yeah, brother.
Oh yeah, so was just one side earth and the other side?
Right, it was one whole mass of land, one piece of land that was represented as earth, and the other part was water.
Okay.
See, let's get another picture of the map again, the world map. You see these pieces of land? To show you that these lands were put together, let's look at Africa. See this part here? This fits right in like a piece of a puzzle into South Central and South America. Okay? This piece here, you can see how they fit together like broken pieces from a puzzle. So that's what happened. When the flood took place, the land was broken up. Okay? Let's read on. Read that verse again.
And the powers said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind.
Right. Now, there's certain parts of the earth where you see it marked off as green, meaning there's supposed to be more vegetation where it's marked off green, and the other parts, like brown, represent desert or less vegetation, and so forth. Read on.
Whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so.
Right, whose seed was in itself. That's why you have the orange. The orange seed yields the orange. The apple seed yields the apple. And so forth and so on. Read on.
And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind,
Go ahead.
and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself
Right.
after his kind.
The apple came out of the apple tree. You didn't have oranges come out of an apple tree, or bananas come out of the apple tree. The apple tree yielded forth apples. The orange tree or the orange bush yielded forth oranges. The banana tree yielded forth bananas, and so forth and so on. Read on.
And the powers saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day.
Third day represents the 3,000th year of the creation of the universe. Read on.
And the powers said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven.
And the power said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens. What are the lights? What do you see at night when you go out and look into the heavens? You see stars. You see stars. Lights. Then there was two major lights. The sun, and then you had the moon. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, where does the twilight come in? Is that when
The twilight represent the
light?
the one side of the light, the dimmer side of the light, and the brighter side of the light. As the world is rotating and the elements is rotating, you'll see part day and part night. Okay, that's why you have you have what's called the international date line. And in some cases, you can be on a big boat, a big ship, and part of the ship could be partially into the night, and the other part partially into the day. So there's like an exact line. They show you that in the Apollo flights and the shuttles. When they look back on the Earth, you can see the elements. One side is dimmer light than the other side. So that's where you get your dust and your dawn and so forth. Go ahead.
And the powers said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and years. And the powers said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and years.
Right. See, a lot of you wonder why it says, let these lights, these stars, and the sun and the moon, let them be for signs. What does it mean by signs? A lot of you think that you see a shooting star, oh, that's just a shooting star. That represents something's going to happen. That's how the Most High tells you that something's going to happen. That's how he gives his message. When he sent the Halley's Comet, what the white man calls Halley's Comet, or cold tip, the Halley's Comet came by during the downfall of the Roman Empire. The stars, different comets came. That's why the ancient Egyptians knew that the Lord was going to send a Savior to save Israel. That was Moses. The Romans, they knew through the Magi, which were the Ethiopians, they knew that Christ was going to come through the stars. And just recently, a few years ago, I forget what year exactly it was, I think it was 87, if I'm not mistaken, Halley's Comet came. And Halley's Comet, that represents the downfall of this white man's kingdom. And if you notice, they found out that Halley's Comet had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tails to it. Normally a comet would have one tail. They recorded it on video and camera and through their observatories that it has 7 tails on it. The number 7 signifies victory for us, signifies completion. That means the white man's time is up. And these top biblical scholars, they know that their time is up. So they should just change. Philip Rothschild family, you should just change yourself up now and come to the school. And just give yourself up. Make it easy for yourself. Don't let us have to come and hunt you down, because we're going to do that anyway. The super rich families of the earth, you might as well get your money and bring it to the school right now and chain yourself up and just come down and bow to us, because you're going to bow to us when the time comes. You're going to bow to us, all right? You devils are going to bow to us. You're going to find out you're the devil like the Bible speaks of. Yeah, I'm laughing at you too. Look, the Most High, Christ gave the keys to the keys to the kingdom to Peter. He said, this rock shall I build my church, and the gates of hell, which is you white people, you scholars, you're not going to prevail. You're not going to prevail against us, man. What are you, a bunch of damn fools? Let's get back to this. I'm getting a little choked up.
And let them
upset here. Go ahead.
And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth.
Right.
And it was so.
It said they were for signs. That's why when you see it in the clips, that represent. There was a lot of eclipses. When I was a kid during the Vietnam War, there was a lot of eclipses, man. Every couple of months there was an eclipse. Anytime a kingdom was going down, anytime something major was going to happen on a worldwide level, there were stars and eclipses and so forth. Solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, shooting stars, comets, Halley comets, and so forth. Read that part again about the lights in the heavens.
And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And the powers made two great lights. The greater light.
No, read the part where it says for the signs and the seasons and the days. What verse is that?
Genesis 1:14. And the powers said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven, to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and years.
Right, the signs. We told you about the signs. That was the Halley comet, the comets, the shooting stars, the eclipses, the lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse, and so forth. So for signs, for seasons, the changing of seasons is the alignment of the stars, and so forth. The way it's positioned in the heavens. Signs, seasons, days, months, and years. Read on.
And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth. And it was so.
Go ahead.
And the powers made two great lights. The greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night.
Now what is that? You know that yourself. The greater light to rule the day. The day was already here. This is the elements being illuminated. There was already elements that was illuminated. But the Most High made a particular light to rule the day, to represent the day. That's the sun. And the lesser light is to rule the night was what? The moon. Yes.
So the moon has its own light?
Of course the moon has its own light.
Okay. So they teach, because they teach in the schools that the sun gives the moon its light.
That's a damn lie. The moon has its own aura. And they don't want to change the textbooks, but when you go out into space, they show that illumination of the moon. That it has its own illumination.
Is it also true that the moon helps plants to grow?
Well, that's all a part of the elements, because it works with the tides and all that. It works with people's minds too. That's why you have this term as lunatic. Somebody bug out off of the moon. Lunatic. Okay? Why? Because the moon has a magnetic force to it, and it proves, and your body is 75% water. So when there's a full moon or something, people's bodies feel funny. That's why there's certain things you do when you go for operations. Certain times of the month, you do these things according to the makeup of the heavens. Okay? Yeah.
Was not the months measured by the moon?
Right. That's where the word month comes from. Moon. All right? Let's read on.
He made the stars also.
He made the stars also. And the stars have their illumination also. Read on.
And the powers set them in the firmament of the heaven.
Right. The firmament is what? Right outside. That's why we can see. Stars out here, all this area here in space. Some stars are farther away than others. Some stars are brighter than others. Read on.
To give light upon the earth.
To give light upon the earth. Because when you look up into the heavens, in the daytime, first of all, the daytime, do we get that daytime light from the stars and the sun? Nah. When the nightfall comes, the light that you see then is what? The light of the moon, the light of the stars. And the sun is not there. Read on.
And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And the powers saw that it was good.
Go ahead.
And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
That represents the 4,000 year. The 4,000 year. Read on.
And the powers said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature.
Oh, hold up now. Hold up now. It says, let the waters bring forth what? The moving creatures. Read that part again.
And the powers said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life.
Right, let the waters bring forth the moving creatures that have life. So, is not man a moving creature that has life?
Yes.
So, man was created back then. There's not aren't the whales moving creatures that have life?
Yes.
The fishes, the birds, all living things, including man, including woman.
And the powers said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life.
Right, let the waters bring forth the moving creatures that have life. So, is not man a moving creature that has life?
Yes.
So, man was created back then. There's not aren't the whales moving creatures that have life?
Yes.
The fishes, the birds, all living things, including man, including woman. Read that verse again.
And the powers said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life.
So, out of the waters came man, came birds, came insects, came snakes, came cattle, came all kind of species of animals out of the waters in their evolving state. Because animals did evolve through the power of the Most High. They didn't just all of a sudden pop up out of anywhere. And they came from the waters where all the elements was, which is the nucleus of the earth. That's where all living things come from, and they came up on the land. The fishes, they stayed in the sea. See? The whales stayed in the sea. The birds flew in the air. Cattle and man walked upon the earth. Read on.
And fowl that may fly above the earth.
Right, and fowl that may fly above the earth. Go ahead.
In the open firmament of heaven.
In the open firmament of heaven. Go ahead.
And the powers created great whales and every living creature that moveth.
Is not man a living creature? The word creature is from the word to create. Created. He was created, right? Was not man created?
Right.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
So that's talking about man. That's talking about woman. Talking about cattle, birds. Talking about all species of living life. Read on.
That moveth, which the waters bring forth abundantly.
And the Most High said he caused the waters to bring these animals and these humans and all species of animals, brought them forth what? One at a time, he brought them forth abundantly. Read on.
After their kind.
After their kind. Whales came after their kind. Cattle came after their kind. Birds came after their kind. You didn't see no flying cows. That shows you how stupid the so-called white man is. Every animal came according to its kind. Horses after its kind. Read on.
And every winged fowl after his kind.
And you had different species of winged fowls. You had the eagle. You had the pelican. You had all these different species of fowl in the air. Read.
And the powers saw that it was good.
And the powers saw that it was good. The angelic forces saw that it was good. Read on.
And the powers blessed them, saying, Be fruitful, and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the 5th day.
And the evening and the morning were the 5th day. Keep in mind that man was created. Man walked the earth. Read on.
And the powers said, Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping things,
See, it's telling you the different species of animals. Read on.
and beasts of the earth
And beasts of the earth. Lions, tigers, cows, bulls. Read on.
after his kind.
After his kind. Read on.
And it was so. And the powers made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And the powers saw that it was good. And the powers said, Let us make man in our image.
Now, a lot of you say, well, wait a minute. You said man was already created. Why are they saying that in the 26th verse? Man was already created, but now the angels are saying, look, let's make man different from the animals. Let us make man according to our image. Let's give them an order. They're going to be the supreme creeping things, the supreme living creatures on earth. Let us make them like us. Read that again, the 26th verse.
And the powers said, Let us make